Good morning, everyone. It is Friday, May 2nd, 2025. First weekend of May, Kentucky Derby time, guys. It's all about it. We're waking up to a beautiful sunrise over here in Western Illinois, over near Quincy. Um, we've had a nice inch and a half of rain. Planting progress has been outstanding over this direction. It's pretty easy to call it probably 80% completed, um, with some guys actually having started rolling at the end of March there. A lot of beans went in early. Things are looking pretty good around here. And corn, really good emergence, pretty even stands. It feels like we are off to a good start. Much needed rainfall, and we will take that. And I think even those that aren't done yet probably have an appreciation for the rain that we have had. So, Kentucky Derby weekend, who's your pick? We'll talk about that more in just a minute. But let's get to the news for right now. China is talking, and that's a good sign. It feels like maybe things are the major iceberg could be starting to thaw. We will watch for that over the weekend, see what happens coming out of there. Feels like that's probably lending some support to the ag markets this morning. Um, Anytime we see just a glimmer or a shim of progress in that direction, I think the markets will like that. So, with that, the trade's going to be watching for any news over the weekend for that, along with planting progress on Monday afternoon. We'll talk about that more in just a minute as well. So, with all of that said, let's take a look at the markets and see what's going on over here on the board. First of all, July corn up 2 3/4 at 475. December up 5 1/4, 452 1/2. July beans up 5 1/4, 1055 1/2. November beans up 6, 1030. July bean oil, that's the one red marker on the screen today, down 60 or so, 49.08. July soybean meal up 370, 298. July wheat at Chicago Board of Trade up 14, 545. December wheat up 12 at 580. Good carry in that wheat market. Kansas City wheat also up 15, 542 1/4. The December at 579 1/4. December cotton up 151, 68.94. That's good to see in that cotton market. Turning over to the livestock, May feeders up 60 at 293.82. The November feeders I'm watching up 77, 288.75. Looking at the hog market, just starting to turn to the downside. June hogs down 10 right now, 209. Excuse me. June hogs down 15, 98.02. October hogs up 20, 82.62. June crude down 80, 58.44. We have got July heating oil down. It's got a 1 handle in front of it, 197.9 right now. And we've got the June Dow up 342, 41, 197. June S&P up 57, 56.80. We've got the NASDAQ up 241 at 2110. The Russell Index up 2330 at 2005.60. Bitcoin up 395 at 97,635. June gold up $33, 32.54.40, and June silver actually a little lower at 32.27. The dollar index is down 774, 99.28, and I'm sure that is adding some support to the commodity markets as well. So, with all of that said, it's a good Friday in the grain markets. We like to see that wheat complex leading the way higher, along with new crop December corn up a nickel. That puts that D's corn back up over 450. Probably time to make sure that you've got some targets out there working. We don't know what happens over the weekend. When we walk in here on Sunday night, we can see these markets get really excited if the right things happen, and you want to make sure you have offers working to get some more sales in place if you have started, and if you haven't started, give some thought to that. And we'll talk a little bit more about why I think that's probably pretty important to have those offers working so that when we have these pops in the market, you can get going on your new crop marketing. But first of all, yesterday afternoon, we had the crush out for March, and we have a slide up there that can show you what the summary looks like. But basically, let's walk down through there. Crush at 1.2 below the trade estimates. There was apparent large build of 155 million pounds of soybean oil stocks. Record March soybean exports, but the implied balance of the year numbers look aggressive from what USDA has plugged in out there, given the South American supplies. Domestic soybean meal running well ahead of USDA. Year-to-date domestic soybean oil use trailing the USDA forecast by over 700 million pounds. So when we look at this, we have another slide in here that's looking at the crush. You can see that we are just basically, the crush reported at 206.6 million bushel, 1.2 million below the Bloomberg average, and 3.1 million above the March of 2024 numbers. On our next slide, though, the thing that I really want to point out are those soybean meal exports. Year-to-date soybean meal exports are nearly 500,000 ton, or 5.2% ahead of the 23-24 pace, but that trails USDA's big number that they have out there of a 7.4% increase from 16.1 million tons last year. So I think it's pretty important to continue to watch our exports. If you have that processor in your backyard right now, I think you're probably seeing them looking for beans, giving you a good opportunity to make some cash bean sales if you still have them in the bin. The crush is a good number, and I think that is helping support our bean products right now. All of those crush plants that have been built and the improvements that have been made, along with the enhanced production capacity of those crush plants, that is important to our bean prices, and hopefully that's the future of our bean prices as well. So keep that all in mind as we move forward. We did have jobs report out this morning. Jobs report this morning showing the unemployment rate steady at 4.2% as the economy adds more jobs than what was forecasted. Why is that important to you? Well, the Fed is watching the jobs report and what's going on with unemployment. And so if the Fed gets uneasy about what's going on with unemployment, that could lead to a change in interest rates. And so those numbers are always important to us, whether we think about them impacting agriculture or not, because ultimately down the road somewhere, it can have an effect on interest rates. And we all know that that will impact us. There's a few other things going on that will be impacting the marketplace this weekend, but most importantly, we are watching planting progress. And when we think about this, the weather has been good. It feels like probably with planting progress, we may have, the USDA may have understated that last week. The planting progress appears to be really strong in many places, including the Eastern Corn Belt. This morning, we were looking around. The brokers were giving input on how they felt like the progress was moving along, and it feels very strong. There is one area that is really behind, and it feels like it's going to make Illinois look lagging, and that is Southern Illinois. Southern Illinois is very wet. There are several producers down there. I've talked with a few of them this week, some customers that are southeast of St. Louis. There has not been a wheel turned yet down there, and there is water standing in a lot of areas. So it's going to be time before they would ever get into the field. That appears to be maybe like the southern third or so of Illinois that is really being impacted, along with, I think, parts of southern Missouri and those states where we've just been having a continual rain train going through there. even if it stopped raining, which it's not supposed to do for a couple of days down through there, we're still days away, if not weeks away from being able to run in some of those areas. So that's something to kind of keep in mind. Producer Rick, you might go ahead and throw up that balance sheet slide. With all of that said, even though Illinois is lagging behind, the rest of the Corn Belt feels pretty good. Western Corn Belt feels like it's in pretty good shape, rolling along. Planting progress looks good. Eastern Corn Belt, not too many complaining about planting progress that direction. Feels like it's running along good. So the question becomes, if we are having a good planting progress this spring, will we get more acres put in of corn? And for right now, it feels like, that number probably can grow from what we were reported back at the end of March 31st number. And so I think that's something that you have to keep in mind as we work our way forward. Monday, we will get the next planting progress report out, and it won't surprise me. I think it wouldn't surprise many in the trade that number was underreported last week and that we see a big jump in planting progress. With all of that said, as I said earlier, it's probably a really good idea to make sure you have those targets out there working on new crop corn. I know that if you are a premium subscriber to ProMedia, that Brady has put some targets numbers out there for you to be considering for new crop corn sales. And we also have visited with you about different alternatives to making sales if you're not ready to make that sale yet. So those are all things to kind of keep in mind. For the most part, though, it looks like the rains were pretty well wanted. And I know we looked at the drought monitor yesterday. It seems like some of these areas that have been in bad drought monitor status are starting to improve. It feels like that map probably lags a little bit. I know we maybe haven't had tile running around here, but it's starting to happen now. And we've been in one of those, critical areas, not terribly bad, but definitely in drought status around here. So starting to see some changes there. So with all of that said, I don't know if there's any comments or questions out there, but it is Kentucky Derby weekend, and we will see the Run for the Roses on Saturday, the first Saturday in May. Just a few tidbits, there'll be 20 horses that are supposed to start. Already one has scratched, so that brought the last standby horse in. He is the long shot when you come and look at the odds on the Kentucky Derby. But just a few facts for you to think about with the Kentucky Derby running this weekend. It is the oldest continuous sporting event in the United States. Churchill Downs opened in 1875. Why is all of this important? Well, when you look at the state of Kentucky, that beautiful state down there, that state equine industry exports $789.3 million annually in horses, in horse sales. And the amount of people that are employed around that industry in that state is a tremendous amount. If you ever have the opportunity to go down there and take a tour of Keeneland or take a tour of Churchill Downs, it really is fun to go take it in and see how all of that industry works down there. I know I spent some time down there back in the mid-2000 time frame, and we went and visited a lot of the cattle industry that is in that state, along with the thoroughbred industry that is in that state. It really is a great place to escape to if you just need a few days away. So a couple more things about the Kentucky Derby. Secretariat set the record speed in 1973. That still stands today, 1:59.4. And also, Toby Keith, the late Toby Keith, has a horse that is entered in this race, finally reaching a dream of his. So a lot of people out there that you don't realize it are involved in that horse industry. And hopefully you can take a few minutes out of your day on Saturday to take that race in. I know a couple of years ago it was an unbelievable race with I can't remember the horse's name coming from the back of the pack, but it was truly great entertainment. So odds on favorites for tomorrow are Journalism and Sovereignty and Sandman. So go pick a horse, cheer them on. And just in case you wonder, I watch the Kentucky Derby, but I always watch it after it is done because I guess I've been around and seen a few too many times where it doesn't go as well as what maybe people think. So um, I hope you all have a great weekend. I hope you can enjoy a little bit of that Kentucky Derby racing tomorrow. If you haven't noticed, I have a love for horses and a little bit of love also for that Kentucky bourbon. So that will be on the agenda for tomorrow afternoon. Today, take in the Kentucky Oaks. That is the mares, and probably what I think is more important than maybe the Kentucky Derby because that's where all the breeding starts from. So I hope you have a great weekend. Hopefully you're making good progress. Be safe out there in the field and stay tuned Sunday night for your market opens. Of course, we can see a lot of activity happen if we actually do see China start to maybe make its way to the table to do some negotiating. Have a great weekend, all.